everyone. Good afternoon. My name's Shayne Delaforce, and welcome to another edition of the CMO Syndicate's CEO Accelerator Briefing. We're really happy to have everybody here. We're just waiting for a few more people to come in. Looks like we've got a good group of people coming in from all over. I see some people from Dubai. Welcome to our attendees from London there, and good to see everybody else. We'll just give everyone a few more seconds as we get into our briefing today. It's an exciting topic. Today we'll be talking about the topic of your best growth engine isn't marketing or sales, it's your customers. And very relevant for a lot of companies today, and that we are actually seeing all over the place. So without ado, it looks like we've got everybody there. We will kick off and we'll start with some introductions. So firstly, my name is Shayne Delaforce, founder of the CMO Syndicate, and it's a pleasure to be here today. And I'd love to introduce everybody to Faisal Laljee, who is also one of our CMO Syndicates. Hi, Faisal, great to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thank you. Great, thank you. We've got a great topic here today, and looking forward to going through it with you. It's a lot of great thought process going into this.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm looking forward to this topic. It's very near and dear to my heart. Let me just share my screen.
And as we're bringing up the screen as well, as we're going through, if anyone has any questions through the webinar, don't hesitate to actually ask some questions in the chat. We'll also be posting this on our CMO Syndicate YouTube channel, so feel free to watch that. That will hopefully be up on our YouTube channel within the next 72 hours, and feel free to do that. And also you'll see at the end of the webinar a survey to rate this session. So please be kind. Hope you guys enjoy it as we're going through there. So right, as we get into the agenda now and start looking at what we've actually got here on the agenda, I think, Faisal, you might want to just make your screen there full screen. As we hit the agenda and look at the introduction. So the CMO growth misconception and actually understanding what that actually is. What does that actually look like? And what is it that we're talking about? We'll look at the missed opportunities that so many companies are leaving on the table as part of that, spending a lot of money on acquisition, but really just there's a whole lot more that can be done in terms of driving revenue for organizations as well. Then we'll be looking at the customer-driven growth model, and then also the CEO framework there, which will get us through, and hopefully we'll be able to cover everything in the next 20 to 25 minutes, and leave some time open for some questions there as well. So with that, Faisal, shall we get into it?
Let's get into it. So the
Fantastic.
CEO growth misconception basically is that growth is primarily driven by new customer acquisition. And unfortunately, this is a misconception indeed, because companies that focus solely on new customer acquisition are leaving so much on the table, as Shayne said. And we're going to talk to you about what and why that is. So the missed growth opportunity that comes from this misconception is that your customers, when you acquire new customers, you're spending so much more to get them in than it is to retain customers. And even as it's 5 times more expensive to acquire new customers, only 18% of businesses end up focusing on the retention piece, which is really eye-opening.
That number's huge, 5 times?
Yes. In some industries is even higher.
Wow.
That's the kicker. What have you interestingly, Shayne, have you seen what numbers have you seen in this in terms of
Absolutely.
acquisition
Yeah.
versus retention?
It's definitely, I mean, there's, coming from the B2B side of things, it can actually be higher in some cases there. And especially if you're looking at it on an international level as well. And, when you're looking across market there, those numbers can be really, really high. So to be able to, not be looking at your existing customer base is definitely a big misstep on a lot of strategies that we see everywhere.
Yeah. And if it's the one thing you take from this presentation today, is that your biggest opportunity for growth is actually your existing customers. That's something I want to make sure that I say that up front. So yeah, sorry. In a typical commercial funnel, right? You think about going top down, but our position is that actually you've got to start at stage 5 here, which is at the bottom of the funnel, where your advocacy machine kicks in. Shayne, you've done some really interesting work with a couple of your clients. Do you want to talk a little bit about, how you're actually executing on this part of the funnel?
Yeah, it's actually a really important point for so many customers. And when we go into a new organization or within our existing previous organizations as well, there's too much focus. I mean, rightly so. There needs to be a lot of focus in terms of the top of the funnel, customer acquisition or prospect acquisition, and nurture, and the selling machine. But all too often, people are just looking, and companies are just looking at those three levels there. They're not focusing at the bottom, which is the most important, which is your customers. They're the ones that already know you. They're the ones that already love you, and understand, that what's needed there. It's so important.
Yeah. And so with that exact thing in mind, there are four key pillars that we have defined within the customer-driven growth model, right? The first is around brand advocacy, that you have to transform your customers from just being mere customers to actually champions and ambassadors of your brand. You want them to be talking about you at the dinner table with their friends, with their family. That's advocacy. It's not just a customer being satisfied. It's way more than that. The second pillar is retention, right? How do you create ways to actually retain those customers? How do you actually increase revenue that those customers are contributing to your business? The third is expansion revenue, right? Which is both horizontally and vertically. How do you find ways to get those customers to keep coming back and spend more with you? And then finally, referrals, right? So making sure that your customers are ending up bringing new customers to you. So in essence, your customers become your sales team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple of notes on that one. Really important 4 points that you've actually got there. But companies that build customer-driven growth engines don't just really reduce acquisition costs, they make every customer exponentially more valuable over time. And that's really, really key in all of this. And also shifting that focus from traditional acquisition to cultivating deep, lasting relationships drives that organic expansion time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's cover those four things real quick, the four pillars of the growth model. The first is brand advocacy. And, I'm not going to read off the numbers, but, one thing is for sure that, to retain your customers in the way that they become your salespeople, you've got to create excitement, engagement within your brand. I can think of an example, American Express, right, which is one of my favorite brands. I never knew in 1,000 years that I would pay $700 for a platinum card, right? But they make
Right?
you want it. They
Yeah.
make you queue up in line to get one of those things, right? It's one of those things that I cannot give up. And I think that's how brand advocacy works. And I've told everybody about that card that I have,
Yeah.
right? I'm proud to carry it, although anybody can have it, really. So,
There's so
so I
many
think that's
examples there, right? Isn't there? Apple. In the lineups you see for people buying the new iPhones, or the new Nike trainers that are coming out. There's some really cool stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've pulled together some examples, and as you know, at the end of the show, we'll share the presentation with every attendee. But I wanted to just mention Lululemon, basically, who invites yoga instructors into their stores to actually run community classes, right? And that's how you sort of see a lot of brands bringing people together and building that sense of belonging, that sense of excitement and engagement, which drives that advocacy. The next part is retention, right? So it's again, awareness is one thing, then you get your customer to buy from you and then you deliver a satisfactory service. But actually retaining requires them to love you. It's not just being satisfied, your NPS scores have to be higher. Your advocacy has to work its way through. And in the end, customers have to really, really want to be with you and stay there. In fact, there's a statistics that it is 67% more likely that your existing customer buys from you than you try to sell to a new customer, which is in itself another shocking statistic.
I got another one there for you, Faisal, as well. Increasing your customer retention rates by just 5%, just by 5% will increase your profits by 25 to 95%. There's huge potential there.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Right. And And so, you know, some examples of how businesses who've been able to step up on the retention is Amazon Prime. Like, when was the last time we gave up on Amazon Prime? Once you have it, you're in. You're getting the video, you're getting the free delivery, you're getting music, and so many other services with it. Shane, do you go to Starbucks?
Oh, every day.
So you would not give up your Starbucks membership very easily, I gather.
Oh, yeah, the Starbucks and the coffee, both of them.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Let's talk about product expansion because I think this is a very big one. Uh, it's true that a typically healthy rate of revenue expansion from existing customers. Let me explain this a little bit because it may be a bit confusing. Typically, every year that goes by, your existing customers should be spending more with you, right? And the healthy amount of that is about 10 to 30% more than what they did the previous year. An example of this is how Amazon Web Services just continues to ratchet up with your business. So as you grow, you can increase and unlock the bandwidth that they're giving you, the storage that they're giving you, the processing power that they're giving you, and they're charging you more for that. For smaller businesses, HubSpot is a very good example where you start for free and then you keep adding as you grow. And so companies are really upselling you on that. What's a good example of a cross-sell expansion revenue, Shane?
Oh, there's a lot. I think, when you look at vertical and horizontal expansion from that side of things, but it really depends on your market segment and where you're actually coming from there. But a good cross sell would be I'm just trying to.
Apple comes to mind actually.
Oh yeah, yeah,
iCloud, right? I mean, you're
yeah,
buying your phone and your Mac, and then
the cloud.
effectively, before you know it, you're actually paying them to store your files and your photos and your data, and you're continuously paying them for storage,
Yeah, that's a
which is
really good example.
a cross-sell model that works. Um, the fourth thing is referral programs, right? And this is one that we can talk about till the cows come home, but a few examples are on your screen. Um, Personally, I was referred to Netflix a long, long time ago, back there when there were a DVD rental service, and I've never left. And there's a statistic around this. I wonder, Shane, do you have that statistic around if you're referred by a customer, that you're actually much more likely to stay longer? So referral customers are retained higher and they churn at a lower rate.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So true.
Yeah, that's numbers actually in the previous slides. It was 16% of customers actually.
Wow,
It's an improvement on your churn if you're working with existing customers.
that's a
Brilliant.
big number.
So, what is in the end? What is the framework that we want to share with you today for customer-led growth, following these four pillars? Um, you know, the first and foremost is that, monetize your engagement, create and foster communities. The second, build in retention and improve your customer experience that way. This also starts from within, so you have to empower your own teams, your customer service teams, to make sure that they're in service of your customers. Um, Designed for scalable expansion, which is we talked about the upsell and cross-sell model. And then the referral programs of which like Uber and Dropbox have really, really done well there. Specifically Dropbox, which increased their overall sales by 3,900% on the back of the referral program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Your customers should be your biggest lead source, your biggest salespeople, and your highest margin revenue stream overall in all of that. Growth is not just about more customers; it's about maximizing every customer that you actually have. It's so important. The most profitable growth model isn't sales driven; it's customer driven, without a doubt.
Yeah. And I think with that in mind, it'd be good for some questions.
Yeah,
We'll
we've got
open it
a
up.
couple of questions here that have actually come through. We've got David who's joining us from London, and he's actually asking, how can we effectively measure the success of customer-driven growth marketing strategy beyond just retention rate? That's a great question there, David. From my side, I would actually say some answer to that question would be your net promoter score, your customer lifetime value, your expansion revenue rates, your referral metrics, and your community engagement. I think that at some good starting points around all of that. Did you have anything else there on that one, Faisal?
That's a really good. You covered pretty much all the areas I was thinking of as well, specifically around the lifetime value as well as the expansion revenue piece.
Yeah. All too many customers in companies that we're actually seeing in strategies out there, they're not implementing the net promoter scores and the customer lifetime value metrics like they should be. And I think that going to the whole, the thought process of this particular topic there, that we really need to be focusing in understanding who our customers are, what they are, and understanding those net promoter scores, measuring the likelihood of referrals and overall satisfaction, and with your customer lifetime value, like track how much revenue a customer generates over time. Your expansion rates, monitoring your upsells, your cross sells, your increased usage, and your referral metrics, including the number of referrals, the conversion rates of your referred leads, and the cost per acquisition from referrals is also really, really important there.
Yeah, actually, McKinsey did a study about this a few years ago, and for a 5-year period that they looked at, those that excel at customer experience, high NPS, and those that are laggards, low NPS, and they looked at the best of the customer experience and then the worst, and they sort of divided it into two buckets, and they looked at their revenue growth rates over 5 years. And can you guess what would well, I'm just going to tell you. It
Yeah,
was a,
yeah.
it was a 2x difference in revenue growth for
Wow.
those that led in customer experience versus those that lagged.
Yeah, I believe it. I absolutely believe it. That's fantastic. We have another question here from Jennifer, who's joining us from Chicago. And Jennifer asks, what are the first practical steps a CEO should take to pivot from an acquisition-first mindset to a customer-led growth model? Great question there. So, what are the first practical steps a CEO should take to pivot from an acquisition-first mindset to a customer-led growth mindset there, Faisal?
Oh, um, I think first of all, you have to look at your processes to understand your baseline for customer retention, repeats, and lifetime value, right?
Yeah,
And once you've got those metrics set up, you've got to put people and groups behind or teams behind each of those metrics to affect them. And so let the guys that are closest to the customer come back to you and tell you,
mm,
this is how we increase customer retention. This is how we feel customers. This is where they leave us or they don't convert or they don't come back. I'll give
yeah,
you an example for a client that I was working with a couple of years ago. We created Voice of the Customer program where
right,
actually every single C-suite would call customers after their transaction was done. They had received their goods. It was an e-commerce business. And we would actually call them and introduce ourselves. Hey, this is Faisal, the CMO of such and such company. We're calling to make sure that you're happy with everything that went on with your order, that you're happy with the delivery times, and we'd ask them questions and have a conversation. And you'd be surprised how many customers engage with us and how much we learned as a result of that process.
yeah,
And we took what that feedback was on board, ended up increasing the number of delivery options we were offering to customers because we heard that as part of their feedback. Ended up, incorporating better live chat features so customers could self-serve
yeah.
things that they weren't able to do so before. And so that kind of customer-led growth internally on your processes, that really helps. And I think that's where I would start to change that mindset internally.
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably just add to that too. It's always good to do an audit of your existing revenue sources to really understand what percentages are coming from your current customers versus new acquisition. Really having that, being data driven in terms of your strategy and understanding what is that mix of the percentage between your current customers and your new acquisition, and really then establish a functional alignment between your marketing, your customer success, your product teams, and the shared KPIs amongst all of them around retention, expansion, and referrals is really really important as well. And then invest in and then run you redesign your initiatives then to internally and externally to reinforce those customer centric behaviors is really important as part of that. Um, okay, then we have one last question here from Sarah, who's joining us from Dubai. Hi, Sarah. Great to hear from you, and thanks for your question. She asked, can a customer-led strategy work for B2B companies? Wow, yeah, great. Especially in individual or technology sectors where referrals and communities aren't that as common as part of that there, and that's very true. Coming from the B2B face, if you don't mind, I'll jump in on and answer that
Please
one.
do.
Particularly in technical industries like deep tech, SaaS, and advanced manufacturing, trust and relationship is really important. It doesn't matter too much on the B2B or B2C side of things. Is that trust and relationships are really paramount across all sectors is really that. But what you want to do is create your peer forums or your councils. Customer advisory boards are always a great way to start. We've just actually done with some clients and establishing that customer advisory board where you've got five of your best customers who will come together once a quarter, once a half a year, and really use that knowledge that you've got from that customer advisory board. We generally turn over. We will have a set number of customers that we'll actually bring into that, but then we'll also bring in other customers from time to time just to make sure we're getting a fresh look across that as well. Also, showcase case studies and your joint success stories with your existing clients. That's really important. Enable your customers-led webinars, referrals, and testimonials. Put all that out there. Speak to that shared challenges and outcomes that your customers had, and also invest in account-based advocacy. People always forget this for some reason. I don't know why. Turning your top clients into evangelists is at conferences and industry events. People don't necessarily want to hear from you, but they'll hear from your customers. And when it comes from a third party, like your customers and who's someone that's actually singing your praise, it's so much stronger at all those, and all those programs like you talked about, Faisal, Lululemon or Tesla, they can also be adapted, without copying your consumer playbooks. It's really important. But the most important thing all is being authentic. Trust-based ecosystems, tailored to your customers' context is really, really important in all of that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone better placed to answer that question, Shayne. So I'm glad that you took that. I think the only thing I would add is, personally from being a consumer of B2B SaaS, on this side, is that whenever they're offering you help to grow your business in a way that's a bit authentic to what you said, Shayne. For example, offering video libraries, training
Yeah,
materials, not just to how to use this tool, but rather how to actually run your CRM, for example, right?
yeah,
There are softwares that will just sell you and that's done. They're done with you. But actually, if they hold your hand and they say, this is how you do it, and by the way, you should also be doing this, and let us show you how this is done. And they do it in a way that's very engaging and helpful.
yeah.
I think that's another way to really start from the customer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some good advice there. Well, that's all the questions I think we actually have time for there. So I'd like to thank everyone for your great questions there, and hopefully that answered it. But if not, feel free. We've got feel free to contact us at anyone on anything that we've discussed today or going forward. Where you can find us on social media or visit our website www.cmosyndicate.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much for your time today, and thank you, Faisal, for your insights today.
Thank you, Shayne, for jumping in.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.